Hey, thanks for checking out the Route 56 recap this week. We were studying Abraham and how God asked him to sacrifice his son Isaac. This was a very heavy story for our kids, but we were able to explain to them, this isn't like something that happens in our religion regularly. So we kind of broke it down for them and really focused on that step of faith that Abraham took, and really just like, Chris and Larry are always saying, trusting God enough to be obedient, to do what he says to do. And just to move forward and trust that he's got a plan and he's going to bless it. And so we just looked at, wow, that huge, just impossible even to imagine step that Abraham took. And then we were kind of thinking, how do we do in this category? How do we do when God asks us to give up something? It's really easy to follow God when we're feeling blessed and we're having a really enjoyable time with our friends and having fellowship and stuff. But what do we do when we hit those hard times where we feel like, God, you're taking everything away that I care about? And it's just something that we were all going to work through at different times and, periods of our life and in our relationship with God. But it's just kind of a question for them to think about. And then part of it that we were thinking about is just in terms of possessions. Like, are we willing to give things up for God? Usually God's not going to ask us for a person in our life, but he might ask us to share things or to give up something, or maybe even like a hobby or something that we enjoy doing, and that might be something that we have to sacrifice to him at some point. So I really wanted to focus on your end as you're working with your kids this week, just to ask them, have you ever thought that this is something that you can practice doing? Because Abraham didn't just one day sacrifice his son Isaac. He had already gone and followed God all the way across the desert, 1,000 miles. He had trusted God over and over and over again in his life, to the point where he was able to, when God asked him to make the biggest sacrifice anyone could ask, that he was able to do that. And it takes some practice, and these are things that we can just start doing in our life already. And so, you might tell your kids, probably God's not going to ask you for you to sacrifice your little sister. But he might say, hey, are you going to share your Xbox with your friend who doesn't have an Xbox? Or the Xbox game that he was like, oh, that's so cool, I wish I could play that. Are you willing to let him see it, Everybody has different possessions like that, different things that they value, and it's something we have to work on. We have to work on having a heart that doesn't go, oh, mine. We have to work on having open hands that say, sure, take this, use this, you can have it, I'll share it with you, or whatever, and that's really something that we want our students to work on, and really as people that we just need to work on, because it's such a hard thing to learn to do. And that's when we're ready to do that for God. So if you can just encourage your kids this week to think about that and think of, how do I respond when it's time to share something or give something away? Can I do that? And can I practice doing it more so that when it's bigger, I'm ready to do it? Okay, so that's it for this week.
Here I bring my stains and crowns, gentle river, wash me now.